Hello, David. Welcome to my show. And it has been quite a smooth season for you this term. And then what are the key factors?
Well, as I said, last season was an indication that things were, starting to come right. And I think we've just followed on from last season. Obviously, we know the swimming pool's a huge factor, and having enough work riders and enough staff. So with that all in place and, having decent horses, the winners will come.
And also a very good teamwork with your very good assistants helping you.
Oh, absolutely. It's a vital part of the team. Every part of the team, every member of the team is a cog in that wheel. And they all have to work smoothly. And if one doesn't, it throws the whole machine out of.
Everyone, when we're talking about David Ferraris, they will think of Virgins of Rain. How important of this horse in your heart?
Yeah, it was extremely important, Ian, because it's not easy when you come to Hong Kong. You don't have any support, and you have very few horses. You get a lot of horses given to you which have problems and are thrown out by the trainers. So I think that was so important to us that I got him in my first few years here. And to be such a champion that he was, it's going to be extremely hard to ever get another horse like that. We know that as trainers, we know they only come around once in a lifetime.
Actually, I think he is the only horse in Hong Kong history to win all big race over 2,000 meters.
Yes, that's correct. He was, and who knows how good he was. He had a heart condition, and this surfaced a few times when he was in training. So who actually knows how good he could have been? Yeah.
So he also won the Dubai SEMA Classic. It has been one of the highlights of your career as well.
That was an absolute highlight. To take a horse overseas, especially over a distance like that, and to win is quite, I think, an achievement. But I take pride in training stayers. I enjoy training stayers, as I enjoy training sprinters. But even back home, I sort of have an affinity with training stayers and getting them fit. I really enjoy it.
You are here for the 14 years. There's some up and downs, of course, we know. So do you have a moment that you want to leave Hong Kong?
Oh yes, absolutely. The second year before things started to come right, one feels, have you done the right thing? You've left a big stable back home, and you were, relatively well known back home, but you arrive here with some very moderate horses given to you, and you have to start to show early. But fortunately, I've had owners that have been with me since I arrived, and I think that's the main thing in Hong Kong, because there are so many short-term tenants here.
Yes.
And that is so sad, because whoever's the flavour of the month, the horse gets given to. And it's not just racing it's not just a one-day game. It takes time.
You has been your father's assistant for many years, and you built up such a good reputation there. So what do you learn most from your father?
Oh, he's a very hard taskmaster. It's a big feather in his cap, because he's produced some decent trainers that have worked for him. Michael de Kock was working for him at the same time I was. And, you don't have to see what Michael's done. We all know what he's done. He's been champion many times. He's just, he runs his stable sort of like a military camp. Things need to be clean, and horses have to be, everything's just in place. There's no dust anywhere. The yards are clean. I think, once, sort the basics out, you get things done.
So since I remember 1997, you won the Durban July on super quality?
Yes.
Yeah, so is it still the most important horse for you?
He was an absolutely fantastic horse, and I'll tell you, Ian, that he was a very small horse. He was probably not even he definitely wasn't 16 hands. He was about 15.3, and he won 3 derbies in 1 year. He won the Cape Derby, he won the South African Derby, and he won the Computer Form Derby, which was won in Johannesburg. And he's still alive today. He was given to my doctor's wife, and she still has him today. They ride him. He's 25 years old, I think.
Wow. So it's amazing.
An incredible little horse. And that first Derby in July was an extremely wonderful experience, purely because Michael Roberts, is probably the greatest rider that South Africa's ever produced. And he'd never ridden the Rothmans July. And, he rode this little guy, and he just came charging up the outside and, won it by 3/4 of a length. It was an incredible experience. Michael was in tears, Mace Roberts, we were all in tears. It was wonderful.
You won the 2nd July for your wife as well?
Yes, Pam's family bred that horse, and Anthony Delpeche rode him. Another story about, I don't know why people think that you have to have big horses. It's absolutely not true. He was marginally bigger than super quality. Drew 18 out of 18 at Greyville, which is extremely tight track, and Anthony just let him stride up near the leaders. He was sitting a bit wide, and he kicked really strongly in the straight. Another incredible little horse, multiple group winner.
Nowadays, lots of owners would prefer a big horse, more than 1,200 pounds, and they would think that, it's good. But actually, the concept is not right, right?
Absolutely, it's not right. The reason being that the bigger they are, there's more chance of something going wrong. Not only that, it's all that weight on their legs, which is, can lead to an injury. I just find, especially in Hong Kong, you don't really want a huge horse going around Happy Valley. It's not that easy to do.
So to train here, what are the difficulties?
I think for a horse it would be boredom. Every day it's the same thing for the horse. That's why it's so important for horses to swim here. Back home we never had a swimming pool. Very few trainers would have a swimming pool. But we were training in big open spaces. I think the horses just get very bored here, and you have to just keep them busy and just change their routines.
So that means the China News Training Center should be good for some more stayers and also stadiums, I can say.
Yeah, exactly. I think you'd have a better chance of training a colt out there than you would here. And they've got little spelling paddocks where horses can, when you've worked them, you can put them in a little paddock just to recover and run around. The concept is, it's an incredibly fantastic setup. I've been there, and it's certainly it's based on the Sha Tin concept, but probably 10 times better.
If you are not a trainer, what would you like to be?
Sure, that's difficult. I certainly wasn't born with the brains my two brothers were. My younger brother's a solicitor, and my older brother's he lives in America now. They're both university graduates. But I just, was born into horses, and I absolutely loved them. I tried to be a jockey, but in those days, they wanted really small kids. Yeah. And it's not like today. They're no more. In those days, you had to be very small. Your feet had to be small. There was such a strict criteria they were picking jockeys on, and they said I would have been too big. I probably would have been okay if I watched my weight. But my youngest son is an apprentice jockey, so we have one jockey in the family. He arrived at the academy in January. His first race on the 3rd of December. He's not quite 16 years old. He's in his 16th year, but it's quite an achievement for a little boy, and I just say he's my little boy doing a man's job.
Yes, you should be very proud of him, how he achieved.
Extremely proud, and I'm very nervous because I've settled a lot of winners, but nothing makes you ready for this, to watch him ride his first race.
We will criticize the jockeys always. How about Luke? If he ride a bad race, are you going to criticize him?
Absolutely. That's part of my nature. I think he'd probably get more criticism than any jockey would.
So as a professional sportsman, we face a lot of career lows. So how can you just keep your head up? It's
very difficult, Ian. You need the help of the owners to constantly replace the horses. This is what needs to be done in Hong Kong. And it's all very well. You can train the older ones to a point, but eventually they're going to need to be replaced. And it's that constant supply and turnover that keeps you going. Because if you don't have that, you're not going to reach that minimal requirement.
Luckily, you have your family support.
My younger daughter, or my older daughter, she loves the racing, and who knows, she might do something in racing at some stage. She reads a race very well. You know, she'd be reading a race, and I'll get a text from her saying, "What did you see that?" And she's very accurate. My wife is a very accomplished horsewoman. She's an extremely good rider, Pam. Doesn't have the opportunity to ride track work, but she used to ride track for me in South Africa.
How do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, I just hope, it's so difficult to predict the future here, and if you just keep getting your constant support, and then you can achieve the results. And I just feel that even when I was back home, my most loyal support, the owners, are the sort of the elderly ones, and I just appreciate people sort of my age group and older, that because they seem to understand what racing's all about. And I think this is a big problem, Ian, because there are a lot of young owners in Hong Kong who don't have a clue about racing, and they need to be taught the ups and downs. It's not always winning.
Yes.
Winning.
Yeah.
The horses get injured, horses get interference in a race, they run badly. I get so disappointed when horses run badly.
Racing is not only about winner, but it's the whole procedure, and of course every owners want to have a winner, but you have to be patient.
Patience is the most important thing here, because horses, I see, and this is not a particularly good thing, the young horses that come in, I just see getting stressed way too hard. They getting injured, some irreparably injured, they can't come right, and they just retired before they even race. And I think people should realize that horses need time, and they need time to settle into this environment too. These the tracks that they would have been trained on back home would have been forgiving sand tracks, and there's only one track in Hong Kong, and it's an all-weather track, and it's not very forgiving.
I assume that Hong Kong will be your base until your retirement?
Yes, I think so, and you can safely say that.